Pizzilli played bad. Kone played bad. Pellegrini played really bad. I don't know. Bad. This was a very, very bad performance at a bad time of year. Ciao, Paisans. We're back. Another episode of Calcio Culture coming in hot. Today is Tuesday, March 10th, and we're breaking down match week number 28, and things have gotten crazy. We got a title race. 7 points between 1 and 2, and then a little bit further down the table, we've got 1 point between 4, 5, and 6. There is a legitimate European League battle at this point. Things are crazy. It was a crazy weekend. This is Vos with my co-host Mats. We're here to break it all down, Mats. Crazy weekend. Good weekend for Juve, though.
Great weekend for Juve. Great weekend for Serie A, I think, as a whole, as the Champions League race is fully on, like you just mentioned, 4, 5, and 6, with Napoli only being 5 points above 4, 5, and 6 as well. Huge win for Milan to create a race. 7 points at this point in the season. Way different than what it would have been 13 technically, or would it have been 10?
Yeah, it would have been 13. Yeah.
So then that would have been basically done and over with, set in stone, nail in coffin. Inter won the Scudetto, but that was not the case. So, albeit it's still a gap to make up, it is now doable. And who knows? Maybe one of these teams can get hot at the end and make a push like a Napoli. We'll see. But yeah, good weekend for the Serie A. Not that good of a day for the Serie A today, as we have some European soccer going on in Bergamo, as Bayern came to Bergamo and it just absolutely is putting a thrashing on them.
They got mauled. Atalanta got absolutely mauled at home today in the Champions League. It was horrible. It looked like one of those like Inzaghi Inter versus Atalanta, Gasperini Atalanta, where it's just a ton of fluidity on the Bayern side of things, and it just put Atalanta in an absolute bundle of shit, and they just got destroyed. Like, they're out of the Champions League. It's okay. Palladino, I think, will maybe learn from it. I don't know, but it got really out of hand really quickly, and they got railed. There's nothing else to say.
At the end of the day, Aaron, as good or as much success as Atalanta has had in European competitions, albeit under a different manager in Gasperini, the end of the day, you have to look at the two sides, look at the wage bills, look at the difference of players on the teams. It's clearly lopsided. Atalanta has upset teams like this before, and they will in the future, but it's a clearly lopsided game, and Bayern are just hot right now. And Atalanta has already salvaged their season enough. They've made it the furthest now in the Champions League as the Italian teams, and this was as far as they go. Not a big deal. I think they take this season as what they did in the Champions League as a win. Yeah, even though they might not be in it next year. But the season, in my perspective, from a Bergamo/Atalanta perspective, not a fan, just like for them, is season has been salvaged and saved, and it is what it is.
Yeah. I think my only other takeaway from this is playing this style of football is what got it. Is the reason Gasperini did so well, but also the reason that Gasperini never won any trophies other than that one Europa League. And I'm interested to see going to next year what Palladino does. If he sticks to this man-to-man kind of run all over the place system in some of these big games, because I think they got to change something up, right? To get really deep in this competition, to win this competition, you can't really play like that because these games happen. This is very much like an Atalanta thing to have happen. You win some really big games and then you get just destroyed because of the way you play, and it's just kind of like nature of the beast with them.
Yeah. I mean, it is what it is. Just one quick thing to move on from Atalanta. We'll see that. Did you see Galatasaray beat Liverpool? Goes to show how good Juve could have had them. Zagrova missed it by a couple feet.
So did Yildiz, to be fair. And some other guys. So, but we're keeping it moving. Other European League matches this week. Europa League, obviously a massive one. This is on Thursday. The first leg, Roma against Bologna. This one is in Bologna. That's going to be really exciting. I think that's going to be high stakes, high emotion. We kind of saw at the weekend, it looked like Gasperini was prioritizing this game, really benched a lot of players, rotated the squad. Didn't work out for him in the league, but I think he's prioritizing that. And they've got a real shot at winning the Europa League, and I think that's probably more important than anything. If you win the Europa League, you're in the Champions League. It doesn't really matter, and you get silverware in your first year. For Bologna, I don't know. Listen, I feel really bad. I think
just based off of the lineup that Roma and Bologna put out there, and we'll go into a little bit more detail later on in the episode, I could see Gasperini like gearing up for the
Yeah,
the
for sure.
Europa League. On the other flip side, Italiano, I did not see that like that. The Bologna lineup looked like a pretty solid Bologna lineup. With that said, with them having another poor result in the league and them fully being out of any type of race whatsoever, can they potentially come in seventh? Maybe, but I don't think seventh is going to get anywhere for Italian teams this year just because of the way that we're performing in Europe. So now it's like for Italiano, I guess it's like just absolutely punt the league and like get your boys fired up
Yeah.
for these next two legs with Roma. You know them, you know how to approach it, you know you could beat them, and then maybe try to make a deep run in this competition. But we'll see because we have seen very, very little from Bologna and Italiano this season to make me believe or think that that is something that can even happen.
Yeah. And then the last thing we got on Thursday is Fiorentina's playing the first leg at home in the Conference League. They're playing a club that I can't pronounce and I don't know, so I'm skipping right over that. But we don't know what's going to happen with Fiorentina. They could win, they could lose. I have no idea what they do week to week. I don't know what they do on the training ground. Probably not a lot of good things, but that's it. That's European competitions. Bringing it back to the league. Obvious game we're talking about. If you did not see it, you may have just started watching Serie A. I don't know. But it was the derby. Inter against Milan at the San Siro. Advantage Milan in this one. 1-0 win. Courtesy of Pervis Stupinian, who only started because Davide Bardesaghi was hurt. So massive moment for him. His first goal for Milan, I believe it was. Definitely first goal in the league. And just a massive win for Milan. I mean, if they lose this game, it's a 13-point gap between them and Inter. With the win, they're 7 points behind Inter. There's definitely a title race when you look at the big games that are still left for Milan. They've got Lazio, Napoli, Juve, Atalanta. Inter have Atalanta, Roma, Como, Lazio, Bologna. So still a lot of big games to be played. And I mentioned that because 7 points is a very makeable gap at this point, especially off of the back of Inter kind of having a few not just defeats, but crushing defeats. And in this derby now, the last 6 times Milan and Inter have faced each other, Milan have 4 wins and 2 draws, Inter have no wins. So it's really been one-sided. And that kind of goes back to the whole Inter can't show up for big games. And Mats has really been saying that's because of the leadership of the team.
Yeah, definitely lack of leadership with Inter. I do want to start with Milan side if we can.
Okay.
The first thing I want to say is this is the first time since 2011, I believe, that AC Milan beat Inter both games, and the last time they did that was under Max Allegri. Max Allegri's back, and they beat Inter both games. And for me, I took away 4 major key points from the Milan side. The first one, I was very surprised, shocked, and impressed with the way Allegri had them set up in the first half rather than sitting back and letting them have the ball. Milan were pressing. Anytime Inter had a goal kick out and Pulisic were on the 18 ready to press, they almost created a goal early on through a Jan Sommer mistake off of it, and they continued to do it. And they absolutely dominated the first half because of that, and I was impressed. Second thing that I want to say is I thought that this was a very good game from De Winter. This is probably
very
the
big.
biggest game he's played in, other than the other derby or maybe against Juventus. Making that move from Genoa last game, he's definitely started slow, and this was a big test, and he played very, very well. And I want to tip my cap and give him a shout out.
Yeah,
The
I would say
third,
even the other thing, just really quick on the defense, if they can get Coney playing at this level, and that this might be harsh, if they can get away where it's Gabia in the middle and then Coney on the right, and you kind of get Tamori out of the team, I think that's the next evolution of this back line because Coney's so good on the ball and Tamori not so much. And then I thought Pavlovich had a massive game. He was a monster, and I thought this game was probably his best game for Milan. And this is what they thought they got when they signed him in this game.
yeah.
Like
Yeah, Pavlovich
pure
has these
dominance.
Yeah, he has these high highs, like
Yeah.
just an absolute athletic, like
Titan.
like
Yeah.
yeah, and like will beat you to every 50-50 ball, will put his body on the line,
Yeah.
and then he has other moments where it's just like, or how are you a professional footballer? But I like Tomori's kind of very like in the same breath as Pavlovic. Like
Yeah, that's
they're
true.
the same player, which is why it can sometimes blow up in their face. But just real quick, want to finish my 4 things. The third is 3-5-2 with the partnership of Leao and Pulisic. In this game specifically, to me, didn't work. There was no like what's the
They're not
word?
really like threatening.
Threat.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was no threat at all from either of them. I mean, there were some chances, but they weren't really linking up.
Yeah.
So I didn't love it. And then my last and final thing is going to be, and I say it every single time Milan come up with the big win, Luka Modric. Enjoy him while we can. 40 years old. During the before the game, they were the coverage. He brought his Ballon d'Or. He had 40 family members there. Sergio Ramos was there in attendance. He is just world class. He controlled the game.
Especially in the first half.
I mean, he is the reason why Milan are in second place.
Yeah.
He is the reason why they can do what Allegri wants them to do, and they can still win games.
Yeah, it's true. No, I think you nailed it. Absolutely nailed it. Other big
Those are
things for me, the couple big things that my big takeaways. 2 guys really. Me and Lokes talked about this on the preview episode for this game. Alexis Salamaekers against Dimarco. We thought that was going to be a really big matchup. Salamaekers did all the things he hasn't done this year. He really closed the space. I don't think Dimarco had really any crosses that were really dangerous because Salamaekers was so tight to him. And it was kind of a win for Salamaekers in a way that they really needed it. Again, this was a game of 2 halves. The first half, Milan were kind of comfortable on the ball and had a lot of players in Inter's half. And then the second half was Corto Musso. For sure. And they didn't really allow any chances. I thought Inter actually had less chances than they did in the first match earlier in the season. And I don't know, maybe it's because Allegri, they're just been getting better and better at doing this, but it was really dominant. And then the other player that I wanted to highlight who has come back into the team is Yusuf Fofana. He had the assist on the Estupinian goal, and it was a phenomenal pass. He covered a ton of ground, broke up a lot of plays. He's kind of become all of a sudden important in this team again, right? He got phased out. And now, like, Ricci could be playing, yes, but I don't think it really makes sense for what they're doing. And Fofana playing well has really elevated the team again, because you have kind of like a pseudo. He's like Rabiot in terms of getting you some offensive output that I think some of these other guys aren't doing. And that's really, really big. What I do want to touch on that you mentioned was the Leao and Pulisic partnership, because they're good players and they get chances. The problem is that they're bad at converting chances when they're right in the middle of the field. And like where a number 9 would be is not where they want the ball. And that's the type of chances they create. That's Leao got into a bunch of good positions and missed some really good chances. And it's just because it's not his position. And I think for this year, there's no reason to change anything. But you look towards next season, it's like, there has to be some change. Either you're selling one of them or you're changing formation, right? Like you can't play them both in the best version of this team is not a 3-5-2 with both of them up top. Very clearly.
It's like very, very clearly the next evolution of this team is a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-3-3.
Yeah.
They need to figure out the outside backs in order to do that. But yeah, your best lineup in the future is going to be a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-3-3 with Leao and Pulisic on the wings. You can put in Kunku as a 10. You can get Fulkrug as the 9 with you have so many options there that's where everything's pointing to go to. But in order to do that, I think you need to figure out the outside backs. I think Salamaekers is a great right back, or not a great, but he's better going forward. He's better as a wing back. But as a 4-3-3, you need a outside back, and he can still push up every now and then. But him and Estupinian, I think, are more wing backs than outside backs. So that would be the only pause. I don't think they should go 3-4-3 because they have too many good center mids at the same time as well. Also, I don't know if Luka Modric does play next year. I don't know if he's going to have the legs in a 2-man midfield. So listen, I don't want to talk too much about next year, but I totally agree that like the best version of this team is not a 3-5-2, but Allegri is a 3-5-2 guy. They've been riding it for this long. They're not going to change at this point.
Yeah.
But they have there's a better formation for this team.
Yeah. And listen, we have to talk about Allegri a little bit, because we've kind of just brushed Allegri under the table, I think, all year a little bit. His objective was top 4. He has a formula for getting the points to get there. It's a 3-5-2, like very difficult to play against. I mean, even with Juve, he was always Champions League, and it was horrible. This is much better than that. Like I'm not going to sit here and say that this is the same as the last version of Juve that he had. But I mean, he deserves an immense amount of credit. This team in second place right now, actually, there's a real chance that they win the Scudetto still. And I think that's fully on Allegri for getting this team set up this way, elevating the defenders, because we had written a lot of them off at the end of last season. And he just deserves a ton of credit for that, in my opinion. And with what's left in this season, they have to be so confident that they're not really going to lose any games, right? It's more going to be, can they get enough points to catch Inter? And they'll probably have the confidence to say, yes, we can, but I'm not sure they're going to be able to
They need Inter. It's not fully in their hands. Like they need Inter to slip up. So like if Inter went out and Milan went out, obviously Inter win the league. So I think they fully at this point believe that they can catch them, but it fully in Inter's hand to win the Scudetto. So no matter how good Milan play for the rest of the season, if Inter don't slip, they can't catch them. But I agree with your take on Allegri. He deserves a lot of credit for this. It's definitely impressive what he's been able to do. We know that this is who he is. Like you said it from the start when Milan got Allegri that they're going to finish in the top four. I think towards the closer part of the season, you might have stopped believing in it. Yeah, but you said it right off the bat, and I think this kind of goes just hand in hand with the conversation that we just had with like the formation that they could be running, but Allegri won't do it because he knows he has a system in place. He can elevate the guys with his system because they're so defensive, so many bodies, and they have such good counterattackers that they can do it, and that's why it's better than the Juve 2.0. But this is where Logan's frustration comes in play, is because we're talking about how they could play so much more attacking, score more goals. They don't do it because Allegri knows this is how to get top four in the league. I've done it so many times. So it can come with a little bit of frustration, but at the end of the day, winning cures all.
Yeah.
So, and that's what he's doing. And he's winning so much, he's getting linked to Real Madrid.
Yeah, that I don't think that could happen. That would be insane, right? Like, can you imagine?
Mean, listen, I know
Real Madrid.
I know that when he finished his first stint at Juve, when he was like winning Scudettos, Coppa Italia, Champions League finals, Madrid they wanted him, and he said like, no, like I just left. I'm gonna like figure out my next step. He's been in conversation with Madrid before, and Madrid, like Allegri's he's kind of like a Ancelotti in the way of like he's more of a man manager than a system like players play my way, which Madrid thrived under. And then when they got Xabi Alonso, it was very much they didn't fit and there's too much talent. So I think Allegri could be good there, but I don't know. Like that would it be good? Would it be bad? I don't want to obviously talk about Madrid, but that would be like, does he leave? Then who do Milan get?
Yeah.
What do they look like under him? I'll tell you. And once again, I don't want to keep talking about too much next year. I want to get on to Inter, but
yeah,
Milan get De Zerbi and they have this 4-2-3-1 with these players. They would be very scary.
Yeah. The other thing I will say is like, if you're Allegri, I know the Madrid job is so alluring, but like in Milan, you're loved. You're one of the best Serie A managers of all time. Like you're going to finish top four. You're going to have Champions League. I think staying with Milan is a good position to be in, right? Like I don't think he sees the Madrid job and says I have to go. You know, like
yeah, no, I mean,
think he's in such a good spot, and I could see next season now having this under his belt. Maybe he does change up what he's doing, and so we can go for the league this year, and he does change things up. Because in the past he ran that diamond, and
the diamond.
That
was a long time ago.
It was a long time ago. It was a long time ago. And speaking of a long time ago, it's been a really long time since Inter won one of these games. So we'll jump to them really quick. Notable things on Inter, and I did forget to mention this. There were some really big misses in this game. Very notably on the Inter side of things, Mkhitaryan had a great chance where he was just kind of marched into the box, sort of unguarded. Bad shot. I think it was right at Mignon when is what happened. And then Federico Dimarco had I would say a chance he 100% should have scored is what I would say.
Point blank opportunity.
Put it over the net.
Especially in the form that he's in.
Yeah, and then there were some other misses on the Milan side of things, but those were probably the two best chances of the game. Like beyond the Stupinian goal, I think those were probably both better chances than that. And then from a lineup perspective, a couple things. No Lautaro, no Thuram, neither of which even came off the bench. So it's Pio Esposito and Boni up top, who did not play very well, I will say. I don't think either of them were really threatening and didn't really do a lot. In the midfield, it was Mkhitaryan, Zielinski, and Barella. So notably, Hakan was out. He didn't even come off the bench. So there must have been some injury in this. I haven't really looked into it. Uh, but other than that, it was the normal team, and they didn't really create a lot of chances at the end of the day. And Mats, you had some stats here about big games, and I think this goes back to last season. Mentality with Inter, big games with Inter. You just want to speak to that a little bit, and then we can kind of get into this team.
Yeah, it's really interesting because, like you mentioned, it goes back to last season, and we've came on here a couple times and said Kivu has this is not Inzaghi's Inter, this is Kivu's Inter. But there are some themes of Inzaghi's Inter that still linger under Kivu's, and that is not winning big games. And I'm gonna rattle off some games here. Doesn't matter. I'm not doing home or away, but there's 10 games here against big games or big opponents, and Inter's record is 1-1-8. 1 win, 1 draw, and 8 losses. They've lost to Juve, they lost to Napoli, they've lost to Milan twice. In the Champions League, they lost to Atletico, they lost to Liverpool, they lost to Arsenal, and they lost to Bodo Glimt twice. And then they've tied Napoli and they beat Juventus on that red card
Yeah,
game with
yeah.
Kalulu that is very controversial. They do not win big games. And they didn't win big games last season or basically ever under Inzaghi. Now we do have said that Kivu has fixed the leaky defense, the late goals that they allow, but he has not been able to fix winning big games. And I think that continues to go to what I said last year, what we've all said is leadership. They don't have the leadership guy, and I think that trickles down to Italy as well because Bastoni and Barella, besides
And I
Donnarumma,
would put
are
DeMarco in that category now too, because he didn't have a good game either,
yeah.
and
I'm
is
so
on the national team.
Yeah, I'm willing to put DeMarco in it. I think it's less on him because Barella and Bastoni have been a pillar for longer, but
Yeah, that's
he's
true.
right there. He's right there. He's a leader in the locker room. He's one of the best players, and they just don't get it done. And you see in a big game like in my opinion, the mindset that Bastoni showed in the Juve game of him going crazy after getting the red card, like it's just like it's not the right mindset to have, in my opinion. And even in this game, Bastoni it wasn't a red card offense, but it was a big foul, and he faked an injury. Like it's just not the right approach, I think. And that's definitely what it is. And then Barella, on the other hand, he's a whole nother story because his season this year has been next to awful. His
I mean,
season last year,
if he wasn't a lock like for the national team, you could make an argument that he doesn't deserve to be on the starting 11 with the other Italian players that have been out there this year.
I would even say he's not a lock. He shouldn't be a lock for the Inter 11, but obviously should be based on his name and his past performances.
Right.
But what he's done this season and what Zelensky has done, why like Fortezzi is a very similar player to Barella. He's not as good of a passer. He's not as good as a defender, but in terms of goal scoring and creating chances, he's very good. So like, but we haven't really seen a lot of him. Although Fortezzi got subbed in this game, I don't think he did much. But I'm
No.
just saying, like, you have these Sucic and Zelensky that have been playing very well this season, but they continue to run Barella out, which makes sense. But that, in my opinion, is why. And even though Lautaro didn't play, he's played in so many of these games and it's the same result. So I'm not going to say, oh, it's because Lautaro was out.
Right.
Now, with that said, Denzel Dumfries came in late. Like he's been in and out all season. You mentioned all the guys that didn't play. That doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't. And I think going back to last year, like we're back in the everything matters right throughout the year, but the end of the season matters more because that's when you need to close things out. And going back to last year, they couldn't close out anything. They couldn't close out the league. They couldn't close out the Champions League. They couldn't close out the Coppa Italia. And now all of a sudden, we're kind of back in that same place where you could have closed out the league in this game. You failed. You had a chance to go deep in the Champions League. You failed. You didn't beat Como in your first leg of the Coppa Italia. So now does this kind of start to spiral in a way? Like their league form is still good, right? Coming into this game, they had won 5 in a row. But now you lose this, you kind of parlay with the other losses. Are they ready to finish this season out? Is it all of a sudden, maybe they don't win the league all of a sudden, and it is Milan's year? Because if you look at pure like psychologically in like the vibes coming out of a club, Milan have the upper hand right now. And I think Inter are viewing this as more, we can't lose the league rather than let's go and win it, right? Like it's a fear. Like we have to get this done. And we've been here before. They should have gotten this done last year. And you go back to 3 years ago, they should have gotten it done then too. And now I don't know what's gonna happen. Kivu's the only real difference other than the team being a little bit deeper, and all of a sudden, I don't know. I don't know if they're gonna be able to close it out anymore.
Do you make very, very valid points? Like this could be the ghost of last year's past and the ghost of 3 years ago past, like you just mentioned, and they spiral and then they do what Inter does and they don't win the Scudetto or they don't close it out like we've seen so many times. The um they won I'm spacing. They won one Scudetto under Inzaghi, right? And then the other one was Conte.
Yeah.
So
I think
the only one
yeah, yeah,
that
yeah.
they've won without Conte was they ran away with it. It
Ran
wasn't
away
even
with
a
it.
competition. Every other time it's been close, they don't get it done. So there's nothing that leads
There's
me to believe that
nobody on this team that I can say this guy is the reason this won't happen. And I can't say Kivu is that either. There's no there's nothing different. The core guys are the same. The manager is different, but he's unproven. And it's just like here we go again.
I agree. I'm in complete agreement. It will be and they don't have easy games. They
No,
play
they don't.
Atalanta, Fiorentina, Roma, Como. They've got the Coppa Italia still. They have a couple sprinkled games in there, but that's a pretty tough stretch to end the season.
What do you think needs to change for them to say like we're going to lock this up? Is it Bastoni
It's
and Barella?
but you like
They're not going to change.
you can't take them out.
You can't take them out. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a lack of leadership. It 100% is.
And yeah, with
And oh
7 points.
that also that doesn't even take into account Italy has their playoff games
Yeah.
within the month of March, and you would assume Bastoni and Barella are going there as well. So then their mind's not fully on the Scudetto. They want to qualify, but they're not good leaders. So are they even going to win against Northern Ireland? There's so many moving parts.
Yeah. So how do you feel about them? You think they're still going to win the league or no?
I don't know. I don't want either Milan or Inter to win the league. I've like kind of wrapped my head around Inter winning the league just because like they've been
It
in
was
first for so
yeah.
long and they've been dominating. And like as much as I don't like Inter, I am a fan of Dimarco and I like to see him do well, but I don't like Inter. But I don't want like Allegri and Milan to win it either.
Bro, I will say if Allegri wins it this year, it suddenly like elevates him to another echelon, doesn't it? It would be
To
so massive for like his legacy to
yeah,
go
no,
back to Milan and
100%.
win it.
Then he would won 2 Scudettos with Milan, like 5 or 4 with Juve.
Yeah.
I don't remember the
2
exact amount.
Champions League finals with Juve.
Yeah, a bunch of Coppa Italias. He would be
Yeah.
in, like, maybe the same breath as the league manager or a better overall manager than Conte because he
Antonio
could do more
Conte.
competitions. Is he Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it would be a new discussion, but I mean, we'll
yeah.
see. We'll kick it on from this game, but a lot left to play for now with that 7 point gap. Going through the rest of the games, we spent a lot of time on that, so we're just gonna kind of stop as we see fit here. First game, Torino went to Napoli. In that game was a 2-1 win for Napoli. Goals from Alisson Santos, Elmas, and then a very late goal from Cesare Casadei. Couple notable things in this game that I just want to mention here because I think it's important to the Napoli season. Off the bench in this game, we saw Zambo and Gisa come back, Kevin De Bruyne, and then Romelu Lukaku, who has already kind of been back, but still getting some more minutes, which is big there. And the other notable one here was Antonio Vergara got hurt, so we don't know how long that injury is for, and that probably rules him out of any time with the Italian national team at the end of the month. But bigger step back on Napoli now. 4 points off of Milan, 5 points clear of Como. They're in pretty good shape, I would say. And with players coming back, that's going to be big. I had said I would be surprised if they're in the Champions League. That's kind of looking like a bad take now. Now the players are coming back. And then the other really big notable piece of this is the discovery of Alisson Santos. He's been really good. I think he's been just as good as Vergara, if not better. And it's like suddenly like you have this sneaky winger pickup that elevates your team and kind of replaces a lot like a David Neres and is maybe better than David Neres. I think that's a legitimate discussion we're going to be having. So I just want to talk about that for a second because I thought he was electric and he's been electric and he finally got a goal here.
Yeah, he's been very, very threatening and dangerous. I believe he's 10 or 15 million buy clause. I don't
Yeah,
think
fifth. I think it's
Napoli
15.
has made up their mind, which to me is crazy because that would be a bargain for him.
Yeah.
But we'll see if he ends up becoming a full-time Napoli player. But he's been a very good uh, kind of shining light in the season and a fine due to injuries. So that's a silver lining there. I had two takeaways from this game. The first is something that you have kind of been saying for a little bit now that you wanted to see happen. Mateus Oliveira playing left
Right.
center back, and he played I think he had a really good game. And then the second one is I saw what a similar Napoli side in this game to what we saw last season in terms of the Antonio Conte mindset, the never die attitude. And that came in the second goal. Politano, being the smallest guy in the pitch, gets to the ball first on the cross to then kind of pass it to his teammate. Those are the little things that like Conte can get out of players, and why how your take was they don't win Champions League, why they're now in a more comfortable spot, albeit they're not in the Champions League lock for sure because they're only 5 points ahead. But those are the things that like you get with an Antonio Conte team. You get someone who's 5'5", jumping over a center back to win the ball and score a goal, and it was needed because then they ended up allowing a late goal and they still won.
Yeah, big one. And I think your point about Mateus Oliveira is important too, because in this one, the back three was Juan Jesus, Bongiorno in the middle, and Mateus Oliveira off the left, which is a change. He's been kind of not done that all that much this year and been kind of stuck with Bukama Bongiorno. And this defense really didn't allow much against Torino. Torino had pretty much no chances. I thought the chance that scored, I thought Milinkovic Savic probably should have saved, to be honest with you. But overall, like I would say trending in the right direction for the first time in a very long time, and not just kind of hanging on for dear life, which is pretty important. And they should be in a good position now. I mean, everybody behind them's pretty hot, I would say. But with players coming back, they kind of have something figured out. It looks like the defense is figured out. They're in really good shape. On the Torino side of things, bad season. Really bad season. You have Diversa there now. After last week, it was a good win. They looked pretty good. And then you have a game like this and they look like shit again. I don't know. I don't know how to feel about Torino. I think it's going to be a weird summer into a weird next season. Kind of have to
Yeah, it's
rebuild.
definitely been a dip. Torino have been like so consistently like 10th with
Yeah.
like 40 goals and 40 goals allowed. Like this season has been not good, and they're gonna need to, obviously they're not gonna invest crazy money, but they're gonna need to do some investing to kind of put a little distance between them and relegation.
Yeah, for sure. Keeping it rolling. Como went to Cagliari and won that game 2-1. Goals in this one from Baturina and Acuna on the Como side of things. And on the Cagliari side of things, it was Sebastiano Esposito. For Como, that's 3 wins in a row, tied for the second best defense in the league and third best offense in the league. Still ridiculous from Como. Like very, very simply, the fact that they're putting up these ludicrous numbers is insane. And now at this point, they are in fourth place, tied with Roma, 1 point. And are they hotter than everybody else? Like they might be. This is still ridiculous for them. I don't know how this is being done at such like a high level that they've gotten this good so quickly, and like week after week, it's the same thing with them, and it's just insane.
I thought I saw this coming. I don't think I had them as high as 4, but I think in our preseason rankings, I had them 6, albeit I'd had Fiorentina finishing in a Champions League spot. So, but like they were 10th or 9th last year, I think 10th, maybe 11th, but it was a pretty sizable gap between them and the next team. But then they spent 100 mil. And
Yeah,
not
that's
only did they
true.
spend 100 mil, they got specific guys that they knew were going to be good for Fabregas' system. Fabregas is clearly the kind of the next big manager, albeit somebody that we just mentioned, Xabi Alonso was that, and we saw him not work out. But I am excited for what Como can do in the future, right? Like this is the tip of the iceberg for them because they have the richest owners. If they get, whether they get Champions League or not, if they get Conference League, if they get Europa League, if they get Champions League, that's a win for Como, and that automatically gets them to keep some of these players they have and get more players. The Nico Paz is a different situation that we'll have to kind of look at, but they're kind of showing now at the later half of the season they can score and create chances without Nico Paz, which is a plus. And so I'm very excited for this Como team in the future. I hope that they end up qualifying for the Conference League and not the Champions League because Juve is going to qualify for the Champions League. But yeah, it's impressive. They're great to watch. Yeah. So if you haven't watched Como, tune into a game because they
Yeah,
play
and I mean
beautiful soccer.
this wasn't expected when I would say in Cagliari is really kind of cooled off. I think they started well, or they started okay, then kind of got hot and now cooled off. And I think this season for them now it's just a matter of kind of elevating players to eventually sell them and kind of reinvest in the summer. They are in 14th place, 6 points off relegation, probably in decent shape. Am I seeing that right? Yeah, six
Yeah,
points
I
off
think they're in decent
relegation.
shape. They struggle since Mina's been out. He's
Yeah,
so big for them at center back. They've been struggling since he's been injured.
yeah, but not a lot else to report. Another big game that happened: Atalanta hosting Udinese 2-2 game after going down early, courtesy of goals from Christensen and Kenan Davies. Then Scamacca had a brace to bring it back 2-2. Now Atalanta are 5 points back, 5 points back from Como in for the Champions League spot. They're currently in seventh place. In last 2 weeks, loss and now a draw for them. I think it's a little bit of a slide, and then into the Champions League, you get another slide. Kind of worrying because I think this is a very Atalanta thing over the last couple of years we've seen where they kind of slide, and when they slide hard. They don't only like lose one or draw one. It ends up being like 3, 4, 5 in a row. And I'm interested to see in how Palladino kind of bounces back because it's now you have a loss, now a draw, and then a mashing in the Champions League. Like how do you bounce back from this? And I think that's going to be a really telling piece of this because we're praising Palladino so much, and he still deserves that praise. But now things aren't going well, and what do you do on the back of that? And I think that's going to be really important to watch.
Well, I think that's where the absolute thrashing of Bayern can be a silver lining because now it's just absolutely punt the Champions League. We're not going to put
Right, right, right,
six
right.
past Bayern in Bayern. And we also do have Inter next. So if we can respond against Inter, we punt Bayern. Then we have a couple in Verona and Lecce, which you got to definitely win those. I don't want to say they're easy, but they are lower level clubs. And then you have Juve and Roma. And if you can be right in striking distance and have Juve and Roma, the two teams right above you after, and then you can really make up some ground. I think in a month or so, depending on what they do against these next 5 Serie A games, we could be talking about Atalanta and Palladino in a way different light.
Right, right, right.
Or we could be back to them being like, all right, they did great salvaging the season, but they they're not a finished product. Like Palladino they have some good players, obviously. Palladino needs to get some of his guys in. So Atalanta is at a very pivotal point in their season, and I agree with you. It's going to be very interesting how they respond and what the results end up looking like at the end of this month or the end of
Yeah, and the
next
other
month.
thing we want to talk about with them is Scamacca. Scamacca's had a great season. He has 8 goals in the league now. It's kind of even hitting another level, it seems like, under Palladino. That's pretty important because now he's definitely in contention. I would be shocked if he isn't starting for the Azzurri come the end of the month. I don't know if you would
Yeah,
agree, disagree with that, because he kind of got his chance this year. Like Moise Kean hasn't been very good. Retegui is in Saudi Arabia. And it's kind of been his race to go win and take that spot. And it seems like he has. And I just think all around he's upped his game because before it was, yes, he's a good finisher. Yes, he's athletic, but he's lazy. He's psychologically weak. And now it's kind of a different player. And he's Atalanta's attack and has had a great season.
yeah. It's amazing to see him bounce back from the ACL.
Yeah, true. Good
And
point. Good point.
it's also amazing to see that he's doing it under a different manager because I
Right.
think we all know Gasparini, although he hasn't really been able to do it for Roma besides one player, he turned water into wine in Bergamo, and every person that played striker or attacking mid or winger was better and scored goals. Scamacca was banging in goals under Gasparini, like some incredible ones. Then he tore his ACL, and then it was okay, Gasparini's gone. They definitely still play attacking, but they're not the same type of go, go, go mindset as they were under Gasparini. So it wouldn't be uncommon to see Scamacca never go back to his old form under a new manager after a torn ACL, and to see both of those work against him and him still come back at that old form. It's impressive. It's great for Italy, and I couldn't agree more. I think he should get a shout or get the start for
Yeah,
the
I
striker
think he
because
definitely deserves it.
Moise Kean does not do anything. And Retegui, albeit had a great season at Atalanta, he's now in Saudi, and who knows what's going on.
Yeah, for sure. On the Udinese side of things, do you want to talk about them a little bit? Little
Yeah,
for me, I still don't love the way they play, but like you can't knock like the results that they get. They're kind of Torino now, right? Like they're firmly in that position. They bring in some good players, they get the most out of them, and then they end up moving on from them. This year, those two guys for me, Kenan Davies, he has 9 goals, 3 assists on the season. That's a pretty good campaign. I don't know if he is going to move on. I don't know the level that he's necessarily at. I think he's better than Lorenzo Luca, and they got 35 mil for Lorenzo Luca. So let's see what comes on the back of that. And the other one in this game, Nicolo Zaniolo had another assist, which brings his tally to 5 goals, 4 assists on the season. And for him, I think that's something to build on. And let's not forget that he's still pretty young. He could move on from this Udinese team, go to another team and be good again. Or you don't think so? You think
Stay
we got to
put.
pump the brakes?
Stay
Yeah.
put. And I think
you're
listen,
right. I think you're right.
he's had
Stay
a great
put.
season. I think it's better. Like, he's been so many places, never lived up to it. There's not too much expectations on him. So
Yeah.
now he's living up or over exceeding expectations. And I agree, those two attackers have obviously been great. I also think, albeit he didn't play this game, two other players on the defensive side of the football have been able to help them have this season, albeit that they usually finish around this area, but keep them right where they
Yeah,
need
yeah,
to
yeah.
be. And it's going to be Soulette and Christensen, who I
Yeah.
believe
They've been
scored.
both have been great. Yeah, he did score. He scored a great
Yeah,
goal.
yeah. Those two have been very solid. They are the kind of the two reasons why Udinese can kind of line up defensively, and then your two shouts are a reason why they can counterattack and score goals. But yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if I think Zaniolo and Davies should probably stay. I
Yeah.
don't think that they've necessarily warranted a move yet, but I think one of the two center backs could
They can
move somewhere.
cash in on. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if they cash in on one of the center backs, reinforce a little bit, like this team could be at like a Bologna level, and not maybe like at a SAS level, right? Like they're
They
in a
are at a
position to
SAS
kind of
level. This
that's
is
true.
who they are. This is who they
Yeah.
are. Like Udinese, I think
They have
it
to
was
get like
two.
one or two more signings right. Like if they get one or two really right, they're going to be in really good shape for next year.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But Udinese's kind of, I
This is
think,
what they are. This is
ceiling.
who they
Yeah,
are. Yeah.
their absolute ceiling is like seventh.
Yeah.
But this is who they are, and where you got to get a little worried is like 2 or 3 seasons ago. I can't remember exactly
close,
what year
yeah.
it was. They were almost out, and now that they're very much not out, this is good for them.
For sure. Keeping it rolling. Pisa went to Turin and got absolutely blitzed by Juve. 4-0 win. Goals from Cambiaso, Thuram, Yildiz, and Boga, who's been really good for them. Mas, I'll let you talk about Juve here because I'm not going to say there's too much takeaway. Pisa are not very good, and Juve at home should be throttling them. But still, it's good to put up 4 goals and keep a clean sheet.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I agree. Like, this isn't a crazy result, albeit
yeah.
I've seen so many games where Juventus should be beating a team 4-0 and then they tie 1-1. So this just goes back to me, the Spalletti mindset of we are scoring goals, which I love to see. This goes back to just elevating players. The more offensive you play, the better they get. Conte Sal played great. Yildiz played amazing. He's been off the score sheet for a little while, so it was nice to see him get a goal
And an assist.
Yeah, we talked about this before we jumped on, and we've talked about it throughout the podcast. Locatelli, the steps,
Yeah.
every game he's getting better and better, and you can see it. And he jumps off the pitch, just progressive passes. The pass he played to Boga was a chef's kiss, Andrea Pirlo-esque. He's progressive. He's becoming a true captain, a true leader, which is exactly what this team needs. And then we sprinkle in these explosive and dynamic players that can score goals, take your man one-on-one, and Juve are taking the necessary steps in order to be where they want to be. So not groundbreaking stuff. I love it. I love to see the offensive forward thinking, Juve banging in goals, and we need to win. And in order to win, banging goals in order to get that Champions League spot.
Yeah, and right now they're 1 point off of Como, and Roma. So they're still right there. Who do they got? I'm checking who they have coming up. They have Udinese, Sash, Genoa. Great run for them. They've got a lot to take advantage of.
They got Atalanta, Bologna, and Milan after, which would be tough.
Really quickly on them, what I will say, I guess this is in a positive. Like from the striker position this year, they have gotten essentially nothing out of anybody. Jonathan David has 5 league goals. And then who's Vlahovic?
Luis Openda.
Vlahovic is second with 3 in terms of strikers. So, I mean, when you look at it like that, if you add like the right player here, all of a sudden it should elevate them a lot.
Yeah. And so think about that. And we have the second most amount of goals scored, albeit we're very far behind Inter. But we have the second most goals scored, and we get very little to no production from our center striker. So goals are coming from other players. Goals are coming from Kalulu, Gatti, Yildiz, Thuram, which is great to see, because that, once again, that is Spalletti. That's the system. That's the
Right.
mindset. That's get forward. That's pass and move. That's take shots and then get rebounds. So I love to see it. We're steps away. Steps away.
Yeah, you are.
It's a year and a half project. It's this summer for Juventus will be huge because we got to make Champions League so we can buy more players and then Spalletti can integrate them. And I would not be shocked if we make a deep run for the Scudetto next year under Spalletti.
If they don't fire him, which is still
No, everything I'm seeing is
yeah,
leading that they like the way we play, and it's not going to matter if it's top 4. I'm seeing he's going to get
I
an
would hope.
extension until 2028 very, very soon. That also, Weston McKennie was signed a couple weeks ago. I don't know if I mentioned that last episode. And Locatelli is also steps away, which is great because he's getting interest from Barcelona, from Premier League teams, and he's basically saying, I'm all set at Juve. I'm a Juventini for life.
And really quick on Locatelli, with the game coming up at the end of the month for Italy, he's got to play, right?
I think he has to play,
They're
yeah.
saying Verratti, I would hate to see it. I think Locatelli deserves to play. It would be crazy to not take him, I think.
I'm in agreement. He is, I don't want to say like, he's top 5 in form midfielders in Europe right now. Not best, just
Right.
in
No,
form.
I agree with that. Yeah, for sure. And it'd be crazy to go Verratti before. I hate the whole Verratti thing. We'll talk about that when we get closer. Keeping it rolling, we had a game, kind of huge relegation game. Cremonese at Lecce. Lecce won this one 2-1. Goals from Perotti, Stulic, and then Bonazzoli on the Cremonese side of things. Cremonese are now officially in relegation. They're in 18th place on 24 points. In Lecce, with this win, go 3 points clear of them. So it's definitely dangerous down there. It's just crazy that Cremonese have fallen off a cliff as they do. And I don't know who's going to go down now. Because I still have faith in David and Nicola to kind of get them out of here, but I don't know who goes down then. Lecce?
I think it's
Inevitably?
I don't think Fiorentina goes down. I think it's in between Cremonese and Lecce. I know that makes no sense because Fiorentina is just in between them, and Fiorentina has done nothing.
Nothing.
But I still don't think that they do, and it's one of the two.
We'll find out. I don't really have much to say on them other than that. The other couple of the games rolled through here. Hellas Verona went to Bologna, and they actually won that one 2-1. Goals in this one from Jonathan Rowe, who had his first of the season for Bologna. And then on the Verona side of things, I don't quite know how to say his name, Freeze and Bowie. Big for Verona, but I mean, they're going down. More so bad for Bologna. And that kind of brings us to this quick discussion we want to have on Vincenzo Italiano and where we're at with him. Things have not really gone well this year, I would say. They're in 8th place, aren't really playing for anything, like we said at the top of the episode. And it's kind of just like what you do in the Europa League at this point is what you do. Granted, I don't know. What is your thought on what they should do with Italiano?
I think you keep him. I don't think you move on after a season after he did so well last season and how the players came out and said how much they loved him. And we talked about it slightly in the last episode or 2 episodes ago. I can't remember. But I think this is on the Bologna front office management scouting team not doing what they were able to do 2 or 3 seasons ago with young talent and getting Immobile, Bernardeschi, and players that don't move the needle or they're old. Their prime is past them. You can only get so much from them, in my opinion. And I am of the mindset of the Italian teams and clubs and fans call for managers too quickly. And I wouldn't do that with Italiano. We know he's a good coach. We know that his ceiling a lot of times is 7th. They're only like they're not terribly far away from 7th. And he just he delivered a trophy to Bologna for the first time in 50 years.
And they're still in the Europa League.
So I wouldn't move on. He also had he got hospitalized, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So it was a tough, weird season for Bologna. I would regroup. You're going to have one competition next year. We've seen teams that be the formula for this league recently to kind of gain your old form or do well in the league and finish high. So I would, in my opinion, I would wait and give him another year.
Okay. I'm on the same page. I think that this squad kind of fell off a cliff for some of their key players, especially like when you look at Ferguson. I think Zortea has not had a good year, so that was kind of a whiff. So I think there's squad building to do, and it's more systemic than Italiano.
Also, Lukumine was off the team, and then he was back on the team. It's hard to get buy-in. So there was a lot of moving parts that happened with Bologna this season.
Yeah, and keeping it rolling. Parma went to Fiorentina, 0-0 game. Bad for Fiorentina. Can't figure anything out. Like we said, I mean, I don't have much more to say on Fiorentina at this point. They're 1 point off relegation. I still don't know what's wrong with them. I don't know if you have any thoughts, but we can kind of like brush through them. I don't think there's anything really new to talk about. It's just they can't win games or do anything good.
I mean, I keep saying, like, I'm the person that's like, they're not going down, obviously, but, like, you are who you are at this point in the
Yeah,
season.
for sure. And I mean, I don't think they're built to be in a relegation battle is the other issue. On the other side of things with Parma, they're kind of getting hot at the right time, which you were talking about a week or two ago, Mats. 3 wins, 2 draws in the last 5 games, and they're kind of firmly in 12th place. I think this is really masking some of the issues that they had all year. But you can't knock the results now. Like 12th place for this team is good. It's a step in the right direction. I thought
Mhm.
that they were going to be in the relegation battle, and right now they're 12 points off of 18th place, and it's looking good for them. Probably enough for Cuesta to get another season next year, and then maybe reinforce the squad and see what happens. But I mean, getting hot at the right time matters, and this is when you do that to get out of that relegation battle.
Yeah, I mean, listen, this is if you told Parma fans you'd be in 12th, 10 points out of relegation at this point in the season, they would have been ecstatic. They lost their manager, they lost a good striker last year, they lost multiple wingers as well. So it was a lot of turnover, and they've done well. And you have to respect it. They're not an easy win by any means.
No, they're not. And then the last couple of games we want to go through, spend a little bit more time here. DDR Derby, Roma, Genoa, 2-1 win for Genoa. Kind of bad defeat for Roma. Goals in this one from Junior Messias on a penalty kick, Evan Ndika on a corner, and then Vitinha off the bench, I believe, had one. I think off the bench. Double checking that. It was off the bench. Vitinha, striker. Great one. All right. We got to talk about Roma a little bit first because Genoa's been good. DDR's a good coach. But again, Genoa's a stepping stone. I don't think we need to talk too much about them. I think they're playing really well. They're scoring a lot of goals. DDR has some really good ideas. They have some good players. But story in this one is Roma not only not winning, but losing and dropping points. And now again, you're even with Como, doors open, and some question marks. We kind of alluded to it. It looks like Gasparini's prioritizing the Europa League with the lineup that we saw. In this one, it was 3-4-3 kind of bench players. Like we know Wesley, so it's like Costas Simicas, Divine Wrench as the wingbacks. In the back, it's Celik and Dika Mancini, and then up front, Venturino, Malin, Pellegrini, and then notably Pizzilli got the start in this one.
Yeah, so I mean, like it's hard to judge with the Europa League, but with that said, we have been screaming to rotate the squad, and I think this is too much of a rotation, especially with how tight the race is. Also, it's an away game, and Genoa's not an easy
Bad.
place to go play and win. And you need points. Like you're in a tight race, and also Gasparini talking about Juve, like the players won the Scudetto celebrating. That's exactly why they celebrated when they got the last goal. They're now 1 point behind. All it took was one loss out of Roma for Juve to be back in the Champions League race, and the pressure's completely on. So that's exactly why they were celebrating like crazy. But back to this game, the lineup I didn't agree with, even though I have been saying to rotate. But what I really, really, really was disappointed and just like kind of shocked is there was just no response from Roma at any point in the game. There was no threat. Dare I say, no urgency, no anything. Like they were
Yeah.
just
No
zombies
fight.
out
There was no
there.
fight.
No fight. There was nothing from them. Even the corner kick was on a wonky goal that the goalkeeper dove to the left and just couldn't recover. Other than that, they literally had the XG was 0.35. They had 0 big chances.
Pizzilli played bad. Kone played bad. Pellegrini played really bad. Gave up the penalty on just lazy defending. Basically, is what caused it. And just I don't know. Bad. This was a very very bad performance at a bad time of year. Bad
Really,
performance.
really bad time. Now, all might be forgiven if he beats Bologna in 2 legs and then they're in the conference or the semifinals. I forget what part they would be in, I think conference. But yeah, I mean, dude, Roma fans have not been pleased with Gasparini at all. And this is not something to be like for Gasparini to be like, guys, I
Yeah.
got us. Don't worry. Like they've been pissed about his decisions all year long. And this is another terrible decision. And then it's like, where's lack of leadership, lack of getting to motivation. There was no response. There was nothing from them. The first half was pathetic.
Yeah.
And then the second half wasn't anything else. Like you would expect after the first half of what they just put out there on the pitch, Gasperini to get in the locker room and just lay into him, and then you get a real response. Nothing.
Yeah, and I will say, like, of note, like, Wesley was suspended, and then we still have Dybala and Sule are hurt. But at the end of the day, like, you're a different level organization than Genoa. And even if you don't have some of your best players, you cannot put in a performance like this, especially like when you're having rotated players. Rotated players, at the very least, should be putting an insane amount of effort into a game, even if they're not like quite at the level they need to be. And they didn't even have that. And I just think this is still showing like the squad level failures and like inefficiencies that Roma has. And it's part of the reason why like they're not ready to compete for a Scudetto yet because they don't have the players to go and do it. And I don't even know if Gasparini's the guy to do it, but Gasparini's still going to be there next year.
He might not, dude. If he keeps,
I think there's no
if they
way.
flame out in the Europa League and
No
they got
way.
some tough,
No way.
he might. I wouldn't move on from him. After what I just got said with Italiano, but we saw Roma move on from 3 managers or 2 managers in the beginning half of the season as last year, and it was a club legend. Gasparini is not a club legend, so
Yeah.
you got to deliver results, or Roma fans get pissed. I wouldn't do it. I would give him some time, but he has nothing to hang his hat on at all this season. Logan's been saying it since he
the
start of the season. Where is his signature win? What does he have to show like this is what we can be?
And they've got a massive, massive game against Como at the weekend. So a lot is riding on that. That's a massive, massive game. And then
Who's
the last
home?
game from Como, they're going to the Lake. That's a rough game, especially with midweek Bologna too.
Midweek, my God, wow.
Yeah, that's a massive, massive game. That's probably game of the weekend. Then the last game that happened last weekend, SAS at Lazio, 2-1 win for Lazio, goals from Daniel Maldini and Marusic on the Lazio side and Loriente from the SAS side. A pretty meaningless game for both these teams. They're both going to finish right where they are, so it doesn't really matter. But that's match week 28. That's it. We got a lot coming up match week 29 at the weekend. Again, Europa League still to be played in Conference League on Thursday. But before we go, we do have a Colpy. I forgot to calculate the odds, though. Oh.
Well, here, while you're doing that, let me just quickly tell the Paisan something about match week 29, right? Because 28 was last week.
Yeah.
And now, obviously, my computer's not loading to rattle off some of these games. Let me see.
I got it up. And I calculated the odds. Match week 29. We got Parma at Torino, Atalanta at Inter. Massive fucking game. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Lecce at Napoli, Juve at Udinese, Genoa at Verona, Cagliari at Pisa, Bologna at SAS, Roma at Como, Milan at Lazio, and then massive, massive relegation game on Monday, Fiorentina at Cremonese. That is a massive game. That is 18.
Yeah, there's Inter Atalanta. That's a massive game. Como Roma is insane. Cremonese Fiorentina is a big game. Albeit Lazio has had a bad season and I hate them. They're still in 10th against Milan, and Milan need to win. And then Udinese just is coming off pretty decent form with the win and a draw in their last 2, and Juventus need to win. So it's going to be every single match week from here on out is going to be electricity, and I'm excited.
I'm excited too. But now we officially have a Colpy and we have odds on Colpy. No Logs. So I'll go Logs first.
Okay.
He's got Milan money line coming in at plus 115. I've got Como money line coming in at plus 100. And Mats, what do you got?
I got Juve money line coming in at minus 185. Now that's obviously not the best odds.
I don't actually love those odds. That doesn't seem right.
Yeah, but I will say this. I'm so confident that this is Mats' game of the year. Pick of the year, flash the sirens, sound the horns, $100 bet on Juventus money line because we need to win this game.
All right, love it. Colpy comes in at plus 562, and that's it for us, guys. If you're still here, remember, like, follow, subscribe, give us 5 stars. Make sure if you already follow us, you do all those things because some of you have not done those things, and I know it because I have our follower count. So please go and do that. But with that, we're done. We'll be back next week. Break down everything that happened in 29 and in the Europa League and Conference League. Mats, take it away.
Paisanos, thanks for coming along on this episode of Calcio Culture. Do not be a gagoots and Forza Calcio Culture.